Hey friends, it's Bailey with Reclaim Grace, and I am so happy you clicked on this video. Today we have some really cute spring thrift lips. I love how all of them came out as usual, but y'all let me know which one is your favorite, and we're gonna go ahead and get started. Hey friends, I hope y'all had a fabulous Easter. Let's get started with our first project. It's a super simple one. I thrifted this white teapot for 99 cents at Salvation Army, and I just want to add a little something something to it. So I grabbed one of my spring transfers, and I loved this pair of birds up here, but it is going to be a little tricky getting this transferred to such a weird round octagon surface. So I'm going to make some relief cuts. I used a piece of tape to hold my transfer into place at the top, and I'm just going to work from the center outwards. And when I need to make more cuts, I will do that as I am moving to the left and right sides. And eventually, I get this baby down. I did lose one of the bird's beaks, but no big deal. I'm going to burnish it well to make sure I don't have any air bubbles. And then I'm going to come in with my polyacrylic sealer and just seal over the transfer area. If this was going to be my final step, I would seal over the entire piece so the sheen would be the same all across the whole surface. But I'm coming in with fine line crackle next, and I need that transfer to be sealed and protected. If you don't do that, the fine line crackle will ruin your transfer. So I'm going to come in with component 1, and I'm applying this everywhere in a crosshatch motion and to the lid also. I let that dry for about 2 to 3 hours. It was a bit humid this day. And then I came in with component 2 and a new paintbrush and did the exact same process. The only difference is this component 2 is a little bit runnier, so you really need to be careful that just watch it and make sure there's no runs. Now that our component 2 is good and dry, I'm going to use the antiquing paste with a piece of paper towel. I just have my finger stuck inside of it. I am going to smush this everywhere and really press it into all that fine line crackle. I love this stuff because you can really wipe back as much as you want and just let it rest inside the cracks. It is gorgeous to me. I did this over the entire piece, and then this project is done. Again, a super easy project, but man, I think it is an awesome upgrade. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this one. I priced it for $17. Moving on to our next project, which is this aluminum cake plate cover tray thingy. It's really cool how it holds the cover. These little clips right here swivel out and it holds the cover into place, and they work great. So let's get this piece cleaned up. I'm just using some Windex because I had it handy, but this piece did have a little bit of grime built up on it. So we want to make sure all that is spick and span. I'm going to remove this little knob right here and set it off to the side. I am not going to be painting this, and I'm going to reuse it, so I don't need to lose it, and then I'm going to clean under that area as well. Now it's time to paint. I have some new to me paint. This is the Alchemy line in the color Alabaster. Oh, it's just a gorgeous warm white. It is beautiful. I have not tried this one out, but I think it's going to be one of my favorites. I'm going to start painting the cover of our cake tray. I'm cutting in around that bottom rim just so I can keep some of that detail on this piece. I did the same thing with the actual tray part. I'm just painting that outer rim though. I'm going to leave the rest unpainted so it can still remain completely food safe. I did 2 coats, I let the paint dry, and now I'm coming in with both sandpaper and a baby wipe to do some distressing. Really just wanted to age it and chip it up a bit. The sandpaper just kind of weakens the paint some, and then I'll come in with the baby wipe to get more of a wet distress look. This paint is a little hard to wet distress by itself unless you use like a fingernail in there like I'm doing right here. Now let's add some detail and some pretty back to this cake cover. I'm using some transfers from Madeline. This has been one of my favorites. I'm going to cut out both of these blue ribbon trim pieces. We're going to end up wrapping these around the cake platter. So once I cut a straight line, I am going to peel off that protective backing, get it positioned where I want it, and then we're going to start transferring this down, holding with one hand, rubbing with the other, just in case it doesn't rip away from the piece. I've had that happen way too many times. Once I feel like it's good and stuck down, I'll start lifting and rubbing at the same time, and that really helps your transfer release a whole lot faster. I added that second trim transfer to the other side. So that does leave like this little gap right here. So I just grabbed a transfer that I felt like matched with the flowers in the other one. I need to cut this one to fit so I can make it work with my project. And that's another thing I love about transfers. You can really make them your own by cutting and trimming pieces down and just adding them on top of one another. So I'm going to do this right here to both sides to fill up that small gap. And then we're not done. We're going to add some more detail using the typesetting IOD stamp. I'm going to use my thin mount just to have a surface to lay this out on and a straight line to go by. I'm not going to use the thin mount to carry the stamps. Instead, I'm going to use a piece of packing tape to act as more of a thin mount. I'm going to make some little handles, fold them over so I have something to grip onto. This is a game changer whenever you're working on curved surfaces. I inked up the back of those stamps with my permanent black IOD ink. Then I'm going to very carefully line it up, stick those little side areas down of the packing tape, and just rub away very carefully. And then I can just peel up that tape, and y'all, it is perfect. I did clear this with a spray matte sealer, and this project is done. I think this is super sweet. It would have been perfect for Easter, but I didn't get it done in time enough. Maybe a baby shower. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this project. I priced it for $33. Now, I just love how this one turned out. I started with a thrifted tray. I think I paid like $1 for this. It had some sticker on the back with the name Brock, so maybe this belonged to Brock back in the day. We're going to get rid of that and give the tray a good clean with some rubbing alcohol. It's a bit tarnished, and I just needed to make sure we had a nice clean surface, blah. And then I'm coming in with some gold spray paint, and I'm going to give this about a coat and a half to get full coverage on the front and back of the tray. Now for the center area, I'm going to use Fusion All-in-One paint in the color Lamp White, and I'm going to do 3 coats on this center area, really taking my time to cut in along that edge to get a nice clean oval shape. Once dry, I took some 320 grit sandpaper and just sanded that area smooth to get rid of any brush stroke marks and just get a nice smooth surface. I'm going to dust that dust away, make sure it is very clean before we come in with a transfer. And we're going to turn this tray into a ornate frame wall art piece. So I trimmed off a few pieces of this transfer, and now I'm using my thumb to just score along the edge that I need to cut. So it kind of puts a guide there for me to follow. Once I get that trimmed out, we're going to peel off that protective backing and get this positioned exactly where we want it. And then we're going to transfer away with our little transfer tool. I was pretty stuck on what to put in the label until I watched Jonathan Mark Mendez's video recently, and he used the word nature in one of his labels. So that's exactly what I did, and I used the apothecary label stamp to do that. Next, I'm going to add a little bit of crackle with my Crackle IOD stamp and some permanent black ink. And then I felt like the gold was just too gold. So I'm going to use some black wax over the gold area of the frame, dabbing off the excess wax instead of wiping, and this leaves a lot more product on the frame. I used clear wax in the center to protect that paint and that transfer. And then we need to make this a wall hanging, so I just took one of these D-rings out of my stash, and with some super glue and some accelerating spray, I'm going to glue this to the back of the tray. And that is it for this project. If I have a favorite today, this will be it. I love how it came out. I just really love the details on the outside of this tray, and turning it into a oval artwork piece. Woo, it's just awesome. Y'all let me know what you think. I priced it for $27. If y'all want to see a major before and after, it's going to be this project. I've had this piece in my stash for probably a year. I love cubbies, I love mini drawers, but the fruit hardware was killing the vibe. But I saw that a couple of them were knocked off. That's how I bought the piece. So I just prayed to the good Lord up above and hoped for the best. I took a hammer to it and it popped right off. These drawers are ceramic, so I was really worried about cracking it or breaking it. But it didn't. They came right off. They did leave a little bit behind, so I just came in with a chisel and hammer and tried to smooth that area down a bit more before I came in and really kind of worked it out and worked it smooth with a 40 grit sandpaper. Also, I scuff sand the rest of the drawer front with this 40 grit to create a little bit of micro texture so our paint would have something to adhere to. I'm going to go ahead and scuff sand the rest of our little cubby piece, like the outer part of it, but I'm going to use a 120 to do that. Now let's fix this little bit of damage on our drawer fronts using some Bondo. I'm going to get out a little bit of the putty and then add just a tiny bit of that darker blue hardener. I'm going to mix these two together well until it becomes one solid color, and then you got to work fast. I want to fill in those little divots from knocking our fruit hardware off, and then I'm going to set this up and let it dry. I'm going to go to the cabinet piece too and fill in a little bit of damage on it as well. I love working with Bondo because it dries so quick. Within 10 minutes, I can come in with a 120 grit sandpaper and sand that smooth. I have my eyes closed when I'm filling or I'm looking away and filling. And if I feel anything, I'm coming back in with the sandpaper. If I don't feel anything, it's smooth. Your eyes can really play tricks on you, so I like to look away and feel, and it helps out a ton. I cleaned all these pieces off once I got done sanding, and with the drawer fronts, I'm going to prime them with some flat black enamel spray paint. I did tape it up so it would be nice crisp lines, and then with the outer part of our cubby, I'm going to use shellac. Since I had some exposed MDF, I'm really focusing on those areas, trying to fill up that area so we don't see that through our new finish, and going ahead and priming the rest of the piece as well. We are going to be using this sweet yellow color by Milk Paint Bestoke brand. I'm going to do 3 scoops of powder with 2 scoops of water just so I can create my mixture a little bit thicker than usual. I did not want to have to do 100 coats, and y'all know yellow is notorious for having bad coverage, but this one actually didn't. It covered very well. I let that paint sit up and thicken for about 10 minutes, and now I'm going to come in and apply my first layer. I'm only going to use this yellow on the body of our cabinet. The drawer fronts I'm going to save for something else. In between each coat, I am coming in with my heat gun to really force dry that milk paint because I like a lot of chippiness, and this really brings that chippy and crackle out. So after I got that first coat on and dry, I noticed I could tell where that raw MDF material was. So I grabbed out my paint on shellac, and I'm going to go over those areas one more time and try to fill it in. It's just with that milk paint definitely being water based, you mix water in it, it really kind of started to swell up that area. So I need to get that grain or that material closed. This dries within 5 minutes, and I can move on to my second coat of milk paint. Now for the drawer fronts. I'm going to use the little bit of paint I have left in this lamp white color. This is the whitest white, in my opinion, that Fusion has. And I'm going to do 2 coats on the drawer fronts. I still have these taped up so I can get nice clean lines on the side. And I'm just going to try to clean it up the best I can on the bottom and top area by just painting over that lip, trying to keep my brush strokes going in one direction, and I did 2 coats on all 4 of our little cubby drawers. Once dry, I'm going to start removing all this tape, and if I have any like rogue spray paint, I can just clean that up with some alcohol, and it came right off. And now let's add some cuteness to these drawer fronts. I grabbed some pink red roses from this transfer book by Any Other Name. I finally have this one back in stock. It is perfect for your spring and summer projects. Whew, this pollen is whooping my butt. I have to clear my throat every now and then. So we're going to remove that protective backing and get all 4 of these transfers down. I'm going to speed through this very quick since we've already done it several times in this video. I'm going to burnish these well to make sure there's no air bubbles, and then we will move on to adding some more cute details to these. First, we do need to apply a clear coat, not necessarily to protect the paint. The paint is all in one, but we need to protect the transfer because of what we're going to be doing next. We're going to come in with Classic Crackle this time. Classic Crackle has more smaller cracks than Fine Line Crackle. I know that sounds ass backwards, but that's what the experts are telling me. I have not really been able to notice the difference, but with the Classic Crackle, you can use water-based products over top of it, where the Fine Line Crackle, you cannot. So once I did component 1 and then let that dry, component 2, let that dry, I'm coming in with Fusion's Antiquing Wax this time to buff in to those cracks and add some age to this piece. I'm also going to go to the outer cubby of the cabinet and do the same thing by adding that Fusion Aging Wax to seal up that milk paint. I let that wax cure for a couple days before coming in and add my new hardware. I'm going to use super glue and some accelerating spray to attach these, since there's no way I'm going to be able to drill through this ceramic without ruining my project. And this super glue, y'all, it surprises me. It is very strong, and I just love the accelerating spray because it makes it dry instantly. So with these hardware, they have holes in them for the screws. So I filled in that hole with some super glue so I can have a more surface area to get some glue on before gluing it to the drawer front. And that is all for this project. I love how this piece came out. The yellows with the pinks and reds is just the perfect combination. I pictured this as a little seed storage cubby. Oh, just so sweet. I priced it for $43. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this project. And that is all I have for you today, my friends. Let me know what y'all think about today's projects. I think they are all precious. Y'all let me know which one is your favorite down in the comments. If you're needing any milk paint or IOD products, head over to my website and check that out. I still haven't gotten around to doing that mandatory price increase, but it's coming soon, so take advantage of my slack. If you got any inspiration from today's video, hit that like button. Consider subscribing if you have not already. And I hope y'all have a wonderful week. I'll talk to y'all in the comments. Bye.